hope he records that.
Is there like an outtake reel? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
They're the worst at they're the worst at collecting shit you don't ever want people to hear you say.
Fucking. This week on the New to You show, Emily and... Now you're getting me the giggles. This week on the New to You show... Emily Owens M.D. Nope.
That sounded good.
Yeah, but I didn't do this part. Ready?
Oh.
This week on the New to You show, False Starts Part 2. Emily Owens M.D. All right. Welcome back.
Whoa.
Welcome back to the New to You show. I'm one of your hosts, John Holtz. With me this week,
Julian Cage.
and
Keith Allen Vincent the first.
joining us again.
Katherine&rsquo.
All right, so we are back on part 2 of False Starts. This is a show, New to You show, where we bring you things that may not be new to you, but maybe you haven't heard it in a while, listened to it, watched it, or whatever, and you want to get back into it, or maybe it is totally new to you and you want to hear our various thoughts on the matter.
Well, that's a really wordy way to say we make suggestions.
We suggest things.
Yeah, we suggest stuff, and maybe you like it.
Every week we have a new way to describe our podcast.
But even if you don't like it, we're not going to stop suggesting stuff, so...
So after another failed start, we're going to...
So we're week 2 of false starts.
Right. Last week I brought a commercial failure, Psychonauts, as a video game. This week Catherine is going to bring us a false start. But before we roll into that, Keith, what was new to you this week?
Oh, yeah. New to me. I'm not exactly certain when this will air, so it might not be very new. But the OK Go video, Inside Out and Upside Down, came out, and it's just brilliant. I could actually spend a whole episode talking about these guys, those OK Go, and their like
The Goers?
just amazing legacy of winning the internet, of like winning internet virus stuff. They're so good at creating content that you know is going to be shared by your aunt on Facebook and like even really cool people. You know, I mean, your aunt might be cool too, but
Yeah, what are you trying to say?
Their track record is unsurpassed, in my opinion. I can't think of anybody that could even come close to making 4 good videos like that have the viral phenomenon that they have, and they've done like probably 12 or 16. It's and they keep one-upping themselves. I just keep wondering when are they going to run out of ideas? It's really inspiring.
Yeah, and I got to say this one, like you know, I think I'd been impressed and then impressed again and so on, but this one really blew me away. Like they really topped themselves. I was just like, it was, immediately after watching, I was like, how the hell did they do this?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, remember the one before this was the one in Japan when they were riding those scooters, and they did all that aerial drone photography. And basically creating living digital screens with people with umbrellas, and that was you know, I thought was a chart topper. But then this one comes out, and I just love it.
Maybe you should describe it a little bit.
Oh yeah, sorry. So first of all, I love the song "Inside Out and Upside Down," which actually in this song mentions going down like an airplane. But in this particular video, they shot it in what's colloquially known as the Vomit Comet, which is a special aircraft that's designed to create zero-G sensations so that people can practice being astronauts and things like this. But they shot the whole video on this airplane, but they locked the camera. So the moment that the point of time when it becomes zero gravity is not exactly clear until they kind of unveil it in a clever way, and then they just really use the zero gravity in just really, really clever ways. I guess that's my big thing about them. They're so clever. Mm-hmm. I actually saw them. I saw this most recent record. I saw them play live to support it, and amazing. I mean, just also inspirational stage show. They use they use audio-visual stuff. They use like tons and tons of screens and video, and it's just the next level of a
show,
concert. Yeah.
Well, not only are they like very clever and come up with cool ideas, but they're also like they work incredibly hard. I mean, like I read an article on the making of that video, and it was like weeks of preparation. They did, so tons and tons and tons of flights just to
have to,
just to first figure out what worked. So they just came up with it by doing it.
Yeah.
And then they had to do. I think they did 8 full takes, and there was time compression. It was a single take, but they essentially cut out the times when it was just like when they weren't in zero gravity,
right?
Because in the video it just dips in and out constantly.
That's why you'll see like the balls or other things. Like it's 0G. It's not like low G. It's,
right.
Yeah, and so there's long gaps. There were like 10-minute gaps between like certain things, and they did that 8 times in a row, all in one day. Like
I wonder how too. I mean, it's notorious for being nausea-inducing. I wonder how these guys.
There was some vomiting.
They must have been taking some sort of like.
They edited a lot of bars.
There was also a whole crew in there with them.
Yeah.
And I forget they had totaled the number of vomit incidents, and it was like in the 30s or something like that. Yeah, it was very very cool.
Well,
check it out.
Yeah, it's easy. Just check it out on YouTube.
But it really like puts a big grin on my face.
And if you haven't seen all of their stuff, just check it out. It's all as clever and as hard work. I mean, all their stuff is definitely like just planning, preparation.
And experimentation.
Yeah. They have a video. Well, their famous first video is like
the treadmill
internet
choreography.
legend.
Yeah.
No, that was their second one. Their first one was just the choreography where they basically had one camera on a tripod, and the lead singer's sister is a choreographer, but she choreographed this. They worked on the choreography together. They choreographed this really, really clever dance, and you would instantly recognize it.
I feel like the treadmill video is what put them on the map. That's where I
no,
first
because
saw.
this was after this made a big dent viral internet wise. It's a million ways to be cruel. Million ways. Remember in the dance they do the thing where they're doing a dance and then it just they do in slow motion.
I know. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm tracking with you now, Keith.
Yeah.
See, but I saw that video after I saw the treadmill.
Well,
Sorry.
you just don't. You're not in touch,
behind
man.
the times.
Yeah, must
Now,
have been before
did these
Facebook.
videos drive you to buy their albums?
They did. I actually I own two of their last 2 records, and I really dig their last record. It's like got everything. It's got everything in it.
Are you getting a kickback from the band or anything? Because
No.
this is like you're just
That's
really.
the show. That's the show. We bring the enthusiasm.
We bring the noise.
That's right. I think though Jules made money recently on an Amazon thing, but
What are you talking about? By the way, click the affiliate link in our show notes if you want to find out more about what Keith was talking about.
Only we had those things.
But that's it. So anyone can go see this. Can go see these videos on YouTube. Look,
the official one is actually sadly on Facebook. The YouTube version is not the official version.
Oh, really?
Yep. I think it must have been a
hosted on
deal or
Facebook.
something. I don't know.
Huh.
Well,
I wonder if to finance all the vomit commenting that they did.
Well, I
they
know
always
that,
have
right?
really clever means of funding their
the
stuff.
Vomit Company, I think that's a Russian company, and I think they did it for the exposure, which was
and
brilliant because they
promotional,
got a lot of exposure.
Yeah.
Very cool. So exposure and commercialism.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're talking about here today.
Our next sponsor is Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
On Netflix, you can find Catherine's Pick.
Yes, you can.
So let's get into Catherine's Pick.
It's free on Netflix.
But inside the mind. But inside the mind. But inside the mind. Viewing from a distance, everything appears fine. But inside the mind. But inside the mind. But inside.
Emily Owens got her medical degree.
I'm a doctor, you know.
She got her dream job.
Keep my patients alive.
She's got her whole life together.
I like you.
I don't see you that way.
That seemed awkward.
Well, she's got her medical degree and dream job.
You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Truth is, sometimes I still feel like a kid.
Hand over the ring dings and get back to work.
What are you looking at, loser?
Oh, 'cause you're so cool with, like, your orange backpack.
Emily Emily Owens M.D. Series premiere Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. So my pick is a TV show that ran for one season. I guess you would consider actually half a season. On the CW in 2012. I discovered it on Netflix because my roommate recommended it to me. It's called Emily Owens M.D. and it stars Mamie Gummer, who you may know that name.
Yep, she's the daughter of Gummer Pyle.
Yeah, good one. No.
Yeah, there's a reference everyone's going to get.
Nah, she's the daughter of Meryl Streep, one of Meryl's 3 daughters. And the show is set in a hospital. Not really an original concept, but stick with me. Mm-hmm. Similar to Grey's Anatomy in the sense that it's one main character. Her name is Emily, naturally, who is starting at a hospital, starting her
residency.
That's right, Keith. And she is working with some guy she's got a crush on. She went to med school with. They're both working at the same hospital. Her first day, she shows up, and in the locker room, she runs into a girl she went to high school with named Cassandra. And Cassandra was kind of like the Regina George, to pull a Mean Girl reference there. Picked on her in high school. Went over your head? Okay, great. Anyway, so then it's kind of like the high school drama love triangle type stuff set in a hospital. So similar to Grey's Anatomy.
But they said right at the beginning, the first character she speaks to says, "Oh, well, working in a hospital is just like being in high school." Right. So they really set that up.
Yeah, it's very explicit. It's like the elevator pitch for the show is in the show.
Yeah,
and she's standing outside the chain link fence of like the initial setup.
Oh, right.
At the very beginning.
Is that this is you have this VO monologue as you pull away or push in on a girl like sitting on her lonesome at a school like a lunch desk or something.
And you think it's a flashback.
Or you think, it's the flashback, this is the past. But then you start to recognize like the LED signs and, oh, wait, is this future, present? What's going on here? And then you see it's the perspective of this
she's
woman.
actually just looking in the fence at a high school student.
On the school that's right across from the hospital, less than a half of a lane.
Right. Well, let's get back. I didn't mean to derail you with the high schools.
No, but that's it. I mean, that's kind of like the tension. So then we have this main character who's navigating her adult life with the tensions of high school in play. So, kind of navigating her relationships, navigating her work career, but still kind of feels like this awkward, kind of embarrassing, says the wrong thing kind of character, but yet trying to be better than that.
She starts off saying too, like, "Oh, I had a bad time in high school, but I've worked through that now. I'm an adult. I'm about to start my new job." And then once she gets there,
fine.
Yeah, and once she gets there, it's just like, oh wait, even her old high school nemesis is there. It's but I think we're playing up the high school part a little bit much because a lot of it's got some of those elements, but I think it's just it's just the dramatic elements of any kind of workplace drama, in that you have power struggles and different cliques and things like that.
They play it pretty heavy though. They play that theme hard and heavy.
Yeah, and they also like really play up her insecurities.
Right.
And then contrast it with her like genius doctor abilities.
Yeah.
So
well, I would say do you have more explanation?
I have a question.
Sure.
Get into that. What makes this a failure?
Okay, so
it seems like there's a lot of elements in here that could lead to success.
Would have a recipe for success.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, I don't think any of you guys had heard of this show, right?
Nope.
I mean, this is probably not you're probably not their target market anyway.
Yeah,
but
I would watch the show, though I don't like Grey's Anatomy at all.
Yeah,
I like
and
this
the
show.
CW has a lot of those superhero shows.
So we might accidentally watch this, thinking we're going to watch Flash.
Yeah, true. So I mean, this is a pretty not a leap into the whole initial failure thing. I mean, they ran for a half a season. They didn't get picked up for the remaining season. They were in a good lineup on the CW at the time with other shows. I think they were next to Heart of Dixie. There were 2 other new shows that season that got renewed and picked up for the next year. This was kind of left on the cutting room floor. So it didn't get picked up by the studios. It also didn't get picked up, by Hulu to continue the series or anything like that. And Rotten Tomatoes kind of like poo-poos it as the failed version of Grey's Anatomy. If you consider that a good show or a good template, this is beneath that or subpar to that.
I find it odd that people, and you said it a couple times comparing it to Grey's Anatomy, and also that Rotten Tomatoes would mention it, because to me, I think the more appropriate comparison is Scrubs. I think it's like, specifically the first episode is verbatim the first episode of Scrubs. It's like he gets there, the person who's supposed to be his teacher is a total jerk to him, and he has to always try to prove himself. The only element that's different is his peers kind of out to get him.
Sure.
But there was this whole if you watch the first episode of Scrubs, it's eerily similar.
But
I could see that. I feel like the pacing though of Scrubs is different than the pacing.
Yeah, well,
of this show.
It's a 30-minute episode versus an hour or two. Yeah,
and tonally it's very different. Like
no, it's not tonally different. Seriously, it starts with narration. They learn a lesson. Dorian is an amazing doctor, and every scrape he gets into, he gets out of by being a really great doctor and talking and listening to the patients.
But it's way more.
And there's
it's more cartoony.
Oh,
it's
certainly,
more,
certainly
it's clearly
so.
a comedy, whereas this is clearly a drama, even though there's some awkward elements.
I think that's
is
one of
where-
the interesting parts about the show is that I don't think it is a straight up drama.
I think that's the problem with it.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I don't think it's a problem, but I think
that-
maybe it could be with demographics.
For me, it's like Grey's Anatomy is a drama with some situationally comedic moments that aren't a sitcom. Like it's a dramatic comedy kind of thing where there are funny characters and funny situations couched in a very serious, like drama appropriate hospital setting, while Scrubs is a comedy with some dramatic situations available to it to give it some gravity and to give you those lesson moments and give it some heart.
So where would you put Emily Owens then?
This is like kind of walking in not the tightrope, the muddy middle of those two, where it's funny in some regards and there are like funny characters and situations set up, and there's drama, but they're actually kind of at odds at times where you're like,
But isn't that real life?
no,
Holt?
but it's not.
Isn't
because
that
it's
like everything in life?
Ha 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 ha. Cancer, you're dead. Like, it's
Well,
not-
yeah.
Well,
Well, what I so somebody described. Remember the movie Funny People with
yeah.
So Apatow said this is not a funny movie. This is a serious movie with happening to funny people. And so that's kind of how I feel about this show, and this is what I thought was so charming about it. Is they were, this is a very serious medical drama, and in fact, when they get into the hospital stuff and the surgery, I mean, all that stuff is super technical. Like they're just
They're very-
like
they show
ER
a
at
lot.
moments where they're talking about like 20 cc's of this stat, and all this stuff. But her inner monologue, like a lot of people, is kind of like self-deprecating. Don't say this, don't say this, don't say this. I said the thing out loud, and I believe that that's pretty much the only comedic element to it. So in a way, I think it's a really neat balance where it's almost like her coping mechanism.
Yeah, and at times it's not even comedic. Like at times you're like, oh no, like you know what I mean? Like you have like it makes you uncomfortable sometimes, like because it's that
she actually
awkward.
says.
Yeah.
And like leans into the awkward moments. Okay, so I want to ask you guys, because you had never seen this before, and I feel like I'm definitely saying that I enjoyed the show and I liked watching it. I watch a lot of television though, so I'm not gonna live and die and saying Emily Owens M.D. that is choice programming. But I do think that there is a time and a place where this kind of show is great, and I do want to get into that. But I want to give you guys the freedom to kind of poo-poo the things that you didn't like, but then also kind of what did you like, or what. When you were watching it, did you feel like it was work to watch it? Were you like, I gotta watch the next episode because Catherine's making me? Or, like what was that dynamic like for you as a new viewer of the show?
Well, I'll just jump in. Oh, go ahead.
for it. No, go ahead.
Well, I will say, first of all, I didn't expect it to be work because, I trust your judgment. And it certainly wasn't work. When as I started watching it, I actually really liked it. Though, if I were to binge, I kind of binge watched about 5 or 6 episodes straight. But if I were to do 3 more, I think I would have been a little over it. But I'm surprised that this show didn't make a bigger splash. It actually had a lot going for it. I think the music is. I really did not like the music. It's very off-putting. Mm-hmm. But what I liked, there are lots of things I liked about it. But visually, it's odd that it all felt like it took place in a real hospital. It wasn't like a set.
Yeah.
You know, they had these, and they used it very well. They have these big shots of these lobbies and these high vaulted ceilings with tons of windows and things. I thought it was really, thought that stuff was really nice. But I just kept coming back to the Scrubs thing because I love Scrubs. And I just kind of felt like, wait, when this came out in 2012, that was really only like 5 years after Scrubs. And how do they not see that, like, oh, I'm stressed out, I'm going to go to the roof and hit stuff with a baseball bat. Like, that's verbatim from Scrubs. I mean, I'm sure Scrubs didn't invent it, but
I think they were trying to make Scrubs, because CW is inherently a tween girl, like, targeted
One Tree
series. One Tree Hill, Vampire Diaries,
The Carrie Diaries,
Pretty Little Liars, like that whole market. And for their boy content, it's superhero stuff, and even their superhero stuff still has that sort of teen like slash fic bent to it. And I think what they were trying to do is
what is slash
like taking characters and putting them in relationships kind of stuff.
That's
like,
called slash fic?
Yeah, like Superman / Wonder Woman, you know, and that's like them fans in their heads putting these two people together is slash fiction. It's a form of fan fiction that specifically
it's like it's the Matrix meets
shipping is like another term for it, where you take two characters and put them in a relationship. Slash often though is like same sex. Is usually like Captain Kirk
Batman and Superman.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
So there's a lot of that going on too. Mm-hmm. But I think that with this show they were trying to tap into that demographic by let's approach it as high school, but also tap into the Grey's Anatomy, like very serious, like dramatic situations. There's a lot of drama to be plunged from the depths of this. And, you know, I also watch a lot of TV. So I kind of I saw a lot of the cues coming on this one. There's a lot of formula to this, not just on a formulaic like hospital drama and the way the show's set up. I watched the whole series through, but you kind of get to see the path of the.
How many episodes was it altogether? 13. And that's all they did, just the one season.
That's it, yeah.
And they didn't even air all the episodes, correct?
They did air the whole package. However, when they were shooting it, they left what ended up being the series finale as more of like a season mid-break kind of a thing. And so it not to be a spoiler, but it ends on a kind of a note where you're like, oh man, this was supposed to be where, I got to wait till February when it comes back. But really, it's not coming back at all. You know?
It's gone. I think it hits a few. That's why for me it hits a few odd notes. That's why I think that it's a little emotionally manipulative with the music, with some of the tones where it's
I like the music of the opener of the credits,
I like the credits,
but that's it. Like the rest,
but
is
the
very
credits
canned.
are like a button,
a blip.
Yeah. So
I'm no Superman.
The canned stuff is definitely built to be
okay. Scrubs.
emotionally like wrenching. It's manipulative music, and a lot of the storylines are too, where it's like, of course that guy's mom has cancer. Like it's a given that she's got it. Like,
and some of that too is like
mystery.
Oh, how convenient! The trauma of this medical procedure I'm working on actually has insights into my real life.
Yeah,
you know, like
Well,
that's kind of you're like, oh, okay. It's there's many things that I think are eye roll worthy about some of the plot lines.
But I think it's well done enough that you don't, you know, and I guess there's a way to kind of just be like, oh boy, how are they doing this? But I don't know. I feel like it was well done enough that it wasn't blatant.
It also finds its legs too over the course of, you know, even halfway into the season, the characters are becoming more believable. The acting is more believable. It's the situations start.
I thought the acting
feel more
was
natural.
really good all the way from
great
the start.
cast across the board.
Yeah. I think it was. You know, like, I don't know, to me, it, like, by CW standards, like...
Yeah, that's what
I'm not trying to be judgmental, but, like, I thought it was
Be judgy, go ahead.
It was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But in a way, I almost wonder if it's just... I think just the whole hospital drama thing, I think just maybe is not a good fit for CW. Like, I'm wondering if you...
Well,
you
I think that's what they found out, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you had taken the same show and put it on, one of the major networks, it might have actually done better.
I'm wondering if maybe this show was just really expensive by their standards too.
Maybe.
That they're just like, we cannot afford another season if this thing's not a super smash hit.
And at the same time, it's funny because, like, to me, it seemed like because... it's competing with all the other hospital shows that have come before it in my mind, and it definitely seemed to have less of a budget than a lot of those shows. Like, it was not as slick, like, especially, like, if you compare it to Grey's Anatomy, it's, like, definitely has way less of a budget than that show. Like, that show was very well produced, very slick, which is, I think, part of what, like, got me to watch it in the first place. But, I don't know. I still think, as far as hospital dramas go, it had its own like twist to it, and but I think maybe that was just the problem. It's just a field that's been so mined that
that is true.
It was hard to find a fresh vein. But
I think the little things that they did to make it different from a Grey's Anatomy or from a Scrubs even is, Grey's tends to be kind of dark, or Meredith Grey, the lead character, is more dark and twisty and not so sunny. And Mamie Gummer in this role, and Emily Owens, is very optimistic, very perky, but not in an annoyingly perky way. You're kind of rooting for her, and every time she makes an awkward step, you're like, oh, that's so painful. And maybe you may or may not have been in a similar situation. But I think where it lacked in the script or dialogue, it definitely made up for it in the acting. And it ended up being maybe unintentionally, well, definitely unintentionally, a feeder show for these main characters for other shows. They've all gone on to be leads in other things. Mamie Gummer's acted in a bunch of stuff since then. She's on The Good Wife now in a recurring role. And Cassandra, the mean friend, she's in a lead role on How to Get Away with Murder.
And before that, she was on Vampire Diaries as well.
She was.
She was Bonnie, the witch.
Yeah. And the character Tyra, who is on that show, played I don't know if she played the chief's daughter, went on to Grey's Anatomy playing the chief's daughter.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the chief is one of the main dudes from Blacklist. He's the chief of their FBI secret group on Blacklist.
Yeah, so it's a sunny story. This show ended up, working out for these characters, and even the creator, I think her name is Jenny Erman. So this show didn't work out for her, but then she created Jane the Virgin, and then that is a big hit.
Golden Globe
on
winner.
CW, and yeah, exactly. So it was kind of maybe unintentionally a test run for a bunch of different elements, and then everybody seems to be doing fine.
So I have more nitpicks. I have so many.
Oh, yeah? Please.
All right.
Give us your bullet points.
Wait. John's got a list.
I got my list.
Here it goes.
All right. First off, so one thing I really, really liked is something that you don't see often. They showed a lot more. You talked about like the realism of the hospital, but also in the surgery scenes, not just the medical babble kind of stuff, but the gear they were using, like those plastic face masks.
The blood guard thing.
Yeah, the blood guard stuff. And like just some of the gear they were using seemed like something that you don't see in a lot of these formulaic medical dramas, where they almost just give you what you would expect to see.
Yeah.
Like sort of stuff. Like in animation, they say, don't put an antenna on the TV.
If Clooney had wore that whole face mask, you couldn't see how dreamy he was when he was doing surgery on a little kid.
That show would have tanked.
Which is an honest assessment, because there are times where I'm like, wait a second, is that the Green Arrow guy, or is that some other guy? Because it's some other person that just happens to have the same glasses. All you see are the eyes, and then those are
That's realism.
Half hidden from the
shine.
That's
realism. That's the cold truth.
So that was what I really liked, was the fact that they were using, it seemed like very up-to-date equipment that even in the up-to-date formulaic medical dramas, they don't use for convenience, possibly.
Sure.
Also
aesthetic reasons.
They probably make the reasonable choice why they don't show those things. Yeah. There was some fun stuff and I always wonder about this, but they had bananagrams is in the show at one point. Like they're playing bananagrams on the roof and talking about how they always play it or whatever. And it made me think about how toys and games get into these pop culture. Like I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. around the same time as I was watching that episode, and they're going through this new base, and they pan across some boxes that have S.H.I.E.L.D. prints, and underneath one of the boxes is a box of this board game Dominion. I'm like, oh, someone just seeded that in there, this little thing. Or our old boss had a toy company before he had an animation company called Rumpus, and they had one of his toys was on the couch in the Friends TV show. And that was like one of his claims to fame was I have a toy on Friends or whatever. And I always wonder how usually it's got to be some sort of like nepotism, right?
Yeah.
Necrotism. Some sort of nepotism to get them there. So that's a positive thing before I get to a negative thing, which is
wait. Your positive thing was that Bananagrams was in it?
Yeah, I really like the Bananagrams.
Really heavyweight item.
You're really doling out them compliments.
Yeah, what a great thing. No, I also like that. I did like the realistic gear, but some of the plot devices in terms of the medical illnesses they came across, not only were overly convenient for the lesson of the day.
Right.
Holt, there's nothing convenient about pancreatic cancer. Okay, nothing.
But it would also be convenient for like, oh, you're a gymnast. And you just so happen to have the correct disease that just so happens to have the complication that your balance, my balance.
Right.
I was the queen of the beam, my balance.
No. Well,
what attention.
Well, I got it in defense of that episode. The real crux of the matter was not that she was going to lose her balance. The real crux of the matter was that she didn't want to be a gymnast anymore.
She didn't want to tell her dad.
There's that side of it. Yeah, that was a challenge.
So they pulled a little switcheroo on you, right? When you thought it was going to be all about that business, it was like, no, actually, I was looking forward to having a reason to quit, is what what it came down to.
So one more thing, this is always a question mark. There was the Micah character kisses her, just sort of like unbidden, and it was a little like. It was a cringy moment for me. I think it was kind of inappropriate to do that. Like House.
Like you didn't buy it, you mean?
Well, all right. So like House or some of these other shows, when you have a level of realism, you start to get into like
power.
Well, also how hospitals have rules about like you have to sign a contract if you're going to fraternize with people, because you're already seeing in this show like the instant. Because these people act like high schoolers, the instant something goes awry in their relationship, because they're vying for it, like people's lives are on the line and they're like playing games with each other, like hiding their pagers and stuff. And so having these power dynamics and all this stuff at play, it's pretty serious business, and they play up the serious and the drama. It's sort of another issue where I think they are kind of like adjusting reality to make their show work versus playing within the reality of it to increase the tension. But having like a guy who you're the intern of come up and kiss you has deeper implications that I don't think they got into because they were just avoiding
they would have.
Well,
they would have gotten into it if they had a chance. The show got canceled.
I would say
the whole second season was going to be about the legality of that power
struggle. They get into it a little bit. They get into it just a little bit.
I would agree with you that the kiss put the cart before the horse in that storyline, but they do end up kind of like digesting that and talking about that, and we have to be, before we even go on a first date, we need to talk about this if we're really going to have a foray into a relationship because of those implications. However, that didn't stop the behavior from happening first.
Right. So yeah, that's it. I did like all the different people that are in it. Deathlock, the guy who plays Deathlock in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in it as he's George with the dead son. That's how I wrote down his name, George with the dead son. The lady from Bones was hitting on the guy from Arrow. And the lady from Bones was like pooping herself all the time. So that's the poop lady note that I have written down.
Wait. What Zooey Deschanel's sister from Bones?
No. You know the one? She's like the.
Well, that's the only character I know.
She's like the
Bones,
head of the FBI. She's got like a Creole accent. She's like, "Hey, Cher, blah blah blah." Okay. So, but she likes the Green Arrow character. I wonder
who doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
who doesn't like that guy? He's
this
a dreamboat.
Must be after Arrow, but before Green Arrow. I mean, wait, no, vice versa. This must be after Smallville, but before Arrow.
Was he the same actor in both?
Time.
Was he?
No. Yeah. So what happened was Smallville dies.
Yeah.
And he kind of is gone. And there was a whole like fight when Smallville's over, because they were about to make a Green Arrow show, and they just like, screw it, no, we're gonna make Arrow, and we're gonna cut out all the Smallville guys,
all the green, get rid of all of it.
And so they cast the new guy in it and all that stuff. But
I got to say that first episode of Green Arrow is the only one I've seen is very intense.
Wait, Arrow or Green Arrow?
Whatever it is, the one that's on the air.
So intense.
So you're saying, John, mixed bag for you?
Mixed bag. I watched it all the way through, and again, it was getting really strong. I mean, I like Pretty Little Liars and I like Vampire Diaries. Those are ones that I think they're going on too long and I'm kind of losing steam to wrap those up. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough. I really like Mamie Gummer. I liked her sister in the show that's not broadcast news. It was on HBO.
Oh, Grace Gummer.
Yeah, Grace Gummer. She was in that show. Is the Aaron Sorkin news show, which I also draw. I guess I draw parallels between like Aaron Sorkin's a really good example of someone trying to make comedy in real world situations work and finding a good place for tension. And I'm surprised he hasn't done a hospital show because he's done like sports newsroom and news newsroom and
the White House
and comedy late night show situations. And the most effective has been his White House show, and his second most effective probably the sports night show, the first one. The others have all sort of veered off the mark a little bit for me.
Don't forget the Midnight on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah, that's the one that I was saying. Yeah, the comedy show, but late night show. But it's tough because I think it's a similar thing where it's tough to strike that balance between comedy and drama, and that's where they're
well. I think that's
the mark for me.
I mean, I'm not trying to shoot down your comments, but I feel like Aaron Sorkin is different in that there's so much tension. It's easy to make a joke funny when there's tension all the time.
Right.
So, and in fact, you really need it. You know, that's you need that tension. Otherwise, you need that break in the tension. It's a welcome thing. So it's like as a viewer, you're just like, thank God. You know, but this show I don't feel like has that same intensity. So I think it's almost even it's harder to make the comedy work in these situations.
I think
it's really easy to have.
It's harder too to make the drama work. So I think the comedy for me does work. I like her inner monologue. I like the setup for those jokes. I do really like the interpersonal exchanges that she has because the actors are great. The silent acting with her VO works. Like that's all timed really well. Yeah. For me, the biggest issue I have is the framework within which they're working and the way they shoehorn in they ratchet up the stakes without. Like, it's just like, boom, damn, code blue, let's go to it, blah, blah, blah. And that only really gets good later on, like in basically around like episode 10 or 11 is when they start to like
I don't understand. What do you mean? Like how they use those?
How they basically find the balance. They started to find the balance in the formula, I think.
Well, I think they start to earn some of those moments a little bit more.
Too. Yeah. It's also.
I didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, then Keith. So, with as far as you made it, what's your overall take on it?
Well, I don't generally. There aren't a lot of TV shows that I really like or watch that often. But this is just as good as anything that I'd watch. Sure.
Okay, Jules, what's your over under?
I mean, I only watched the pilot. I could see myself watching more, but I'm not like. I don't think I will. But I think something else that I think I learned tonight is that I watch way less television than you and John.
Yeah, that's likewise.
Exponentially less.
That's all right. There's got to be someone in the group.
And so I think because of that, what's left is got to meet a pretty high bar, I think.
And I understand that for sure. And I think for me with this show, the time and the audience is this. If you've exhausted every other show, if you're like John and myself and you're a TV consumer and you're looking at your Netflix going, oh, there's nothing new. What's coming on? In a land where there's like a million new TV shows. Pull this one up because it's easy to digest.
Yes.
You don't have to think about it. There's not constant action happening every 5 minutes like on a Scandal or How to Get Away with Murder where if you go to the bathroom and come back, you're completely lost. This is one of those where it's like...
You can watch it in the bathroom. It's one of those.
It's romantic comedy vibe, fairly girly. It's fairly watered down. And I will say this about it too. It's still interesting without being dirty. I don't think there's a lot of shows that are popular right now that you could watch with your mom, Yeah. I'm not going to sit down and watch Casual or Orange is the New Black with a bunch of my family members, but this is one that you can recommend to people of all ages. You can sit and watch it with your mom and your sisters, and you'll enjoy it, and it won't be awkward.
You know what it is? It's a great show for when you're at home sick for a day.
Nailed it.
You can just, bam, watch this. It's not going to tax you. And it's going to while away the hours.
Just another compliment to it, too, I think, is that, you said, oh, it's very girly. And maybe I'm just not the right audience. But I didn't find it girly. I found it to just be like a show. You know, I mean,
Nice.
the main character's a girl, and she, you know, likes this guy or whatever sometimes. But I didn't feel like there was
Wasn't
any
too
part.
overly
Right. I
love
mean,
triangle for
right,
you.
exactly. It wasn't soap opera-ish, and I'm not saying that something girly is soap opera-ish, but I'm
Right,
just
right.
saying that I don't know, a lot of the things that are associated, like Lifetime. This doesn't belong on Lifetime. I think it's way more widely
audience.
cast net than
And,
that.
and
Yeah.
honestly, like I didn't know and wouldn't have guessed that it was a CW show either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I would have put it as a Fox show. I think is where I would have put it.
Sure.
I think that maybe going back to what you're saying about like why it didn't succeed is that it's not they were aiming for certain demographics with the casting of the show and with the sort of tone, and they realized that this wasn't quite the show that the CW needed.
So definitely a false start.
Yeah.
But
it
the
was
actors
the show that
went
it
on.
deserved.
Yeah, the show we deserve.
Give it a second chance.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So, Katherine, thanks for bringing us Emily Owens M.D., and people can watch that on Netflix.
That's right.
All right, cool. Well, you guys should watch it before they take it down.
Yeah, they'll
Or
do
who
that.
knows?
They'll do it
And-
Quick.
Or you can
In the
join the
middle of the
fan
night.
Facebook page, which has 11,000 members to bring back another season.
Wow. So, like, maybe they'll make a movie like Serenity.
Lost cause.
Maybe they'll kickstart it.
All right.
But a good pick. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah.
Everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of the New to You Show. I was one of your hosts, John. You can find me on Twitter at Lord Joho. With me this week was
Keith Vincent. You can see my stuff. You can see some of my artwork on Tumblr at earthlingkeith.tumblr.com.
All right. And I'm Jules. You can find me on Twitter at Beautiful Jules.
You can also buy some of his great jewelry on that website.
No, you can't.
It's
beautiful jewels.
And I'm Katherine. You can find me at katherinescipione.com.
All right. So if you want to find out more about Emily Owens M.D., where you can watch it, links to it on Netflix or any other information, some pictures of the pick.
A diagram of the cast and all the shows they've ended up
Yeah, exactly.
on.
My murder wall that I made of red lines. You can find that on our website at
Find that on our show notes.
on our website at New to You.
You can find that on my bedroom wall.
newtoyoushow.com. You can follow us on Twitter at New to You Show. You can leave reviews on our iTunes. You should subscribe. You should share the show with others. It may not be new to you, but you could make it new to them for as long as it's new
nice
until they've
turn.
listened.
That would be kind.
Yeah.
Hey.
So definitely go out there, subscribe, follow, leave us comments and reviews. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have any ideas for topics or media that you'd like us to get back into or to plumb the depths of with our insight and criticism,
With our mental roto-rooters.
definitely reach out. Again, newtoyoushow.com or on Twitter at newtoyoushow, and follow us on iTunes or any podcasting app that you like. Next week, Jules will bring us his pick for False Starts Part 3, Iron Giant. It may not be new, but maybe it's new to you.
Yeah! Explosion sound!
And there are many possible answers, such as hard work.
Feel I'm alone in this whole of existence. I know it takes time, but I'm losing my persistence. The distance is too far to fetch, so I sketch on pages and hope this.